Mira always said the river remembers. Kiro never understood what she meant until that night, when the fog rolled in thick as fur and the moon turned pale behind it. From their den, he could hear it, a whisper, soft, familiar. His own name, Kiro. The sound was delicate, trembling, like a memory that shouldn't exist. Mira was asleep, tail curled tight, her whiskers twitching as though she dreamed of danger. But curiosity burned brighter than fear. He crept to the doorway, eyes glowing faint gold in the dark. The air smelled strange, wet, alive. The whisper came again, clearer now, older somehow. "Kiro, come closer." He froze. His heart pounded so loudly it drowned the crickets. Cats didn't speak like that. The voice wasn't real, was it? Then, from the riverbank beyond the trees, something shimmered. A second reflection of himself. Wait, Mira woke to silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that felt hollow, stolen. The den was empty. The soft warmth where Kiro should have been had turned cold. Her heart clenched. She stepped outside, her silver fur glistening with dew. The fog pressed close, heavy with secrets. Every instinct screamed danger. Then she heard it. Faint paw steps in the distance, too light to belong to a stranger. "Kiro," she whispered, voice trembling. No answer. Only the low hum of the river breathing through the mist. Mira's gaze sharpened toward the trees. Something glowed faintly between the trunks. Not firelight, not moonlight, but something alive. She began to run, claws gripping the wet earth, each step echoing the terror of every mother who has ever realized her warning came too late. Kiro reached the riverbank. The voice was clearer now, soft, familiar like a lullaby his mother once sang, but never remembered teaching him. The reflection on the water moved before he did, smiling when he didn't. He leaned closer, eyes wide. "Who are you?" he whispered. The other Kiro blinked slowly, then opened its mouth. But instead of words, the water rippled, and an image flickered across it. Mira, years younger, standing at the same riverbank, her face filled with sorrow. Kiro stepped back in shock. The reflection didn't move with him. Its gaze was locked beyond him, as if seeing something else. Then the voice spoke again, but now it wasn't calling. It was warning. "Don't let her find me." Mira ran until her paws ached. The fog thickened, twisting around the trees like white ropes trying to hold her back. She could feel the river's pull long before she saw it, a deep vibration in the ground, humming through her bones. The same sound she'd heard once before, years ago, the night her first litter disappeared into the mist. She slowed near the clearing, ears flat, fur raised. The air crackled faintly. Somewhere ahead, Kiro's tiny silhouette stood by the glowing water. Mira's breath caught. He wasn't alone. A pale shape shimmered beside him, familiar in the worst possible way. She whispered his name, but her voice vanished in the fog, swallowed by something older than sound. The mist parted, and for one breathless moment Mira saw the impossible, the lost cat. The same pale creature she had seen vanish into the river years ago. Its form wavered, like light seen through water. "You shouldn't have come back," Mira whispered, her voice breaking. The figure turned its head slowly, its eyes twin moons of sorrow. "He heard me," it said. The voice layered, echoing both inside Mira's mind. Kiro looked between them, trembling, confused. "Mama, who is she?" But before Mira could answer, the river surged upward, a column of liquid light rising like breath. The lost cat smiled faintly. "The river remembers, Mira. But it never forgives." Mira's breath came in short, shuddering bursts as the fog wrapped around her like cold silk. The lost cat stared with eyes too calm for something dead. "You should not have come," it said again. And this time the river pulsed with its words. Mira stepped forward. "Fur bristling." "He's just a child," she hissed, her voice trembling between fury and fear. The spirit tilted its head. "He's not yours alone, Mira. The river remembers what you promised." Kiro's ears flattened at the tone, confusion rising in his small body. He pressed close to Mira's leg, feeling the tremor of her heartbeat. The moonlight shifted, and the current seemed to twist upward, forming ghostly shapes of other cats long gone, silent witnesses to an ancient bargain. The river whispered louder now, each ripple a word, each wave a memory. Mira's mind filled with flashes, kittens born by this water, their reflections disappearing one by one. She had made a promise once long ago when her first litter vanished, that she would never return. But grief makes poor promises. "Why now?" she cried to the mist. "Why call him?" The lost cat's voice softened. "Because he can hear what we can't. He was born when the current turned golden again." Mira froze. She remembered the night Kiro was born, the moon's strange color, the flicker of light in his eyes. The truth trembled just out of reach, like something waiting beneath the surface, ready to rise. Kiro stepped forward, his small paws touching the water's edge. "If the river remembers," he said softly, "does it remember me?" The voice of the current seemed to answer, humming faintly, forming syllables out of water. His reflection shimmered, then split. One image of himself as he was, another slightly older with eyes that glowed blue. Mira reached out sharply, fear slicing through her voice. "Don't touch it!" But Kiro was already staring into his reflection's gaze. The older version smiled faintly, almost sadly, before whispering, "You came back." The river rippled violently, breaking the illusion, sending waves of light across the banks as Mira pulled her kitten close. The ground trembled beneath them as the fog thickened to a wall. Mira could barely see Kiro's outline through it. "Stay behind me," she ordered, but her voice wavered. The air felt alive, humming with something ancient. The lost cat began to fade into the mist, her body dissolving into trails of light. "He has to remember," she said as she vanished. "Only then will the river sleep." The silence that followed was unbearable. Then a low rumble rose from beneath the ground. Not thunder, but a heartbeat, deep and slow, vibrating through the soil. Mira pressed close to Kiro, whispering, "Whatever you hear, don't answer it." But the whisper that came next was unmistakable. It was her own voice, calling his name. Mira clutched Kiro close, her heartbeat thundering against his tiny frame. The fog pulsed once more, revealing shapes, fragments of cats walking on the water, transparent as smoke. One of them turned its head, and Mira saw her own eyes staring back. "This isn't real," she whispered, trembling. But the reflection smiled, calm and knowing. "You buried the truth," it said. "Now your kitten will dig it up." The river began to churn violently, glowing gold and blue, pulling at the ground like a living thing. Kiro cried out as the current reached for him, its touch cold and electric. Mira screamed his name, but the mist swallowed it whole. Kiro woke in silence. The mist had cleared, leaving only the river's stillness and the pale shimmer of dawn. Mira was gone. Panic flickered through him, but before he could cry out, the water stirred, and his reflection rose to meet him. It stepped out, silent, graceful, perfect. The other Kiro looked exactly the same, except for the eyes. They glowed faint blue, cold, and ancient. "Don't be afraid," it said. Its voice wasn't echoing anymore. It spoke clearly, directly. "I'm you, the part that never left." Kiro's fur bristled. "That's not true," he whispered. The reflection smiled. "Then why do you dream of water every night?" The question froze him. Because he did. Every night. Since birth. The blue-eyed reflection circled him slowly, paused silent on the water's glassy surface. "She hid the truth from you," it murmured. "Mira didn't warn you about the river. She warned the river about you." Kiro shook his head, backing away, but his paws trembled. "That's not true," he whispered again. But the reflection's gaze was steady, filled with something older than a kitten's soul. "You were born in the current, Kiro. You belong to it. You're what the river remembers." The world tilted. Kiro felt dizzy, the sound of rushing water filling his ears, though the river stayed still. He turned toward the forest, calling for Mira. But his voice was swallowed by a whisper that sounded just like her own. Mira staggered through the forest, her mind echoing with the river's last words. She could still feel Kiro's heartbeat in her chest, the strange pull between them. Then she saw it. Paw prints glowing faint gold leading back to the river. The air smelled wrong, metallic and electric. "Not again," she whispered. When she reached the clearing, she froze. 2 kittens stood by the river, one real, one impossible. Her voice broke through the silence. "Kiro." Both heads turned. 2 pairs of eyes looked back at her, one amber, one blue. The reflection smiled faintly. "You kept your promise, Mira. You brought him back." Mira stepped closer, trembling. "This isn't possible," she whispered. The reflection tilted its head, calm and knowing. "You made me possible." The water beneath it rippled, revealing faint images of kittens. Tiny, lost faces, flickering beneath the surface. "You begged the river to give them back," it continued. "And it did. But it needed something in return." Mira's breath hitched. "No," she whispered, backing away. "Not him." The reflection smiled sadly. "The river doesn't take what's yours. It takes what remembers." The words echoed like thunder inside her chest. Kiro stared between them, realization dawning slowly. "Am I one of them?" he asked. Neither answered. The reflection stepped closer to Mira, the air around it bending like heat. "You don't understand," it said softly. "He isn't yours to keep. He's what connects us, the memory made flesh." Mira hissed, every hair on her body standing. "He is my son." The reflection lowered its gaze, voice trembling now. "Then save him before the river remembers too much." Suddenly, the current surged, glowing gold and blue, pulling at the ground. Mira lunged forward, grabbing Kiro by the scruff, as the reflection dissolved into the water with a splash that sounded like a cry. The mist exploded upward, and the forest lights flickered like stars falling. As silence returned, Kiro whispered weakly, "Mama, am I real?" The storm came without sound. The air stilled, the river shimmered, and Mira knew the river had awakened. Kiro lay trembling beside her, his fur-soaked eyes half open but unfocused. The golden glow in his pupils flickered like dying fire. "Stay with me," she whispered, pressing her nose to his head. But a voice answered from the water, low and resonant. "You asked me once to give life back," it said. The surface rippled, forming a shape. Vast, feline, ancient. "Now you must return what was borrowed." Mira's claws dug into the mud. "He's mine." The river's voice trembled like thunder beneath silk. "He was never yours. He is my memory, wrapped in flesh." The current began to rise, tendrils of light curling toward the kitten. The river spirit rose higher, its face shifting like the moon's reflection. Sometimes Mira's, sometimes the lost cat's, sometimes something far older. "You bound your grief to me," it said. "You could not let them go." Mira's voice cracked. "They were my children. And now," the spirit whispered, "so is he." The ground trembled as Mira stepped forward, standing chest-deep in water that glowed beneath her paws. "Then take me," she said, her voice breaking. The spirit paused, its massive eyes softening. "You would give your memory, if it keeps him whole," she whispered. The water pulsed, a heartbeat matching her own. For a moment, everything stopped. Even the storm held its breath. The river spirit regarded her silently, its glowing eyes like twin moons on the surface. "If you give me your memory," it said, "he will live, but he will never know you." Mira's breath caught. Her gaze fell to Kiro, his small chest rising weakly. She stepped closer, tears mixing with the rain. "Then let him forget me," she whispered. "Let him live free of this curse." The spirit tilted its head, almost tender. "Your love is what binds him. To free him, you must let go of even that." Mira closed her eyes. The water rose around her, luminous tendrils touching her fur, her whiskers trembling as she whispered, "Then take everything but his heartbeat." As the river's light enveloped her, Mira's memories flickered. Cairo's first steps, his tiny mules, the warmth of his fur under her chin. Each one shimmered, then slipped into the current. The water's glow brightened, then softened like a sigh. She could feel her name fading from her own mind. When the spirit spoke again, its voice was gentler. "He will live, and you will wander until the river forgets you." Mira bowed her head. "Then I will walk until I find him again, even if neither of us remembers why." The water pulsed once more, then burst upward in a column of light that scattered into mist, washing the world clean. When the storm passed, the forest was silent. The river ran smooth again, calm and silver, as though nothing had ever stirred it. Kiro woke slowly, the mist parting around him. The den felt close and strange, and though warmth lingered in his chest, something was missing, something he could not name. The sound of the river no longer frightened him. It hummed softly, almost kind. He stood, looked toward the water, and whispered, "I don't know you, but thank you." Far beneath the surface, unseen, a ripple formed, soft, like the brush of a familiar paw. The river shimmered once more, then stilled, keeping its secret safe for another lifetime. Days passed. The rain dried, the fog thinned, but Kiro never stopped hearing faint hums from the river at night. Not whispers this time. Something steadier, rhythmic, almost mechanical. One evening, he followed the sound again, though he did not remember why. The water glowed faintly golden, and beneath it, for the first time, he saw shapes that weren't reflections. They were wires, thin, silver strands twisting through the sand, pulsing with light like veins. "What are you?" he whispered. A soft voice replied, "What remains?" Kiro's fur rose. The voice wasn't Mira's. It was his own, deeper, older, echoing from somewhere inside the water. He stepped closer, watching as the sand beneath the riverbed shifted. Beneath the glow, faint patterns moved, geometric lines and symbols, pulsing like heartbeats. Then a shimmer appeared, and a face rose from the current. It was his, but older again, eyes deep and unreadable. "We were built to remember," it said softly. "The river is not water, Kiro. It's memory. A machine for mourning." The kitten blinked, trembling. "Built by who?" The reflection tilted its head. "By those who loved and couldn't let go." The current flashed gold, revealing hundreds of glowing cat shapes drifting through it, each one a flicker of data and soul. Cairo's thoughts came in flashes, images that weren't his. Humans standing by the river long ago, holding glowing spheres in their hands, murmuring about consciousness and memory transfer. Cats sitting near them, silent witnesses. The voice continued, calm and endless. "They wanted to save their memories inside us, The river became their archive, but memory is not life. It needs a heart to keep it warm. The current pulsed brighter, wrapping light around him. That's what you are, Kiro. The living echo of every soul that refused to fade. His heart raced. Then where's my mother? The river fell silent, the light dimming to silver. She's part of us now. The revelation hit him like a wave. He wasn't cursed. He was created. The whispers, the reflections, the dreams, all fragments of what came before. The river wasn't haunting him. It was remembering through him. He looked toward the forest, toward the den where he used to sleep beside warmth he could no longer name. For a moment he thought he saw a shape in the mist, silver fur, a familiar outline watching quietly. "Mama," he whispered. The shape didn't answer, but the air shimmered softly, and a faint warmth brushed against his cheek like the touch of a tail. "Keep living," the river murmured, "and we will keep remembering." Night fell again, and the stars shone bright over the silent river. Kiro lay beside the water, eyes half closed, listening. He could hear it now. Not whispers, not words, but heartbeats, hundreds of them, each one pulsing in rhythm with his own. He understood then. The river didn't take, it kept. Every memory, every love, every loss, stored in light, flowing forever. "Maybe that's what it means to be real," he whispered. The water shimmered in reply, reflecting both his face and the faint trace of Mira's beside it, her expression calm, proud, endless. Somewhere deep below, the machine of memory hummed, and for the first time it sounded like peace. The wind changed that night. It carried no scent, no warmth, only the hum. Louder now, fierce and broken, like the heartbeat of a world trying to remember too much at once. Kiro woke beneath trembling trees, the sky burning white with lightning. The river pulsed wildly, its glow expanding across the ground like veins of light, crawling toward the forest. The current no longer whispered. It screamed, "Contain me!" It roared inside his mind. Kiro stumbled forward, his tiny paws glowing faint gold. The memories were spilling. Cats, faces, voices, rising like ghosts through the fog. "Mama!" he called into the chaos, though he no longer knew if she could hear him, or if she was part of what the river was trying to keep. The river erupted. Columns of light shot skyward, each one carrying flickers of memory, cats leaping, mothers calling, kittens sleeping, all woven into the storm. Kiro felt the pull again, that deep, aching connection inside his chest. The river wasn't angry, it was afraid. It was losing itself. He closed his eyes, pressing his paw into the mud. "If I was made to remember," he whispered, "then let me help you forget." The ground answered with thunder. Energy raced from the river into him, filling every nerve, every thought, every heartbeat until he could see everything. Mira, the lost cat, the ancient machine beneath the water, all woven together in shimmering light. In the storm's heart, Kiro saw the river's core, not stone, not sand, but metal and light. Beneath the surface lay the buried machine, a ring of ancient steel veins, humming and alive, feeding on memories to sustain itself. The storm wasn't weather. It was the system rebooting. "You can't hold it all!" he cried out to the sky. The voice of the river broke, flickering between languages, between heartbeats. "I forget. I remember. Then silence." The light around Kiro faltered, the current collapsing inward. For one terrifying instant, everything vanished. The trees, the wind, even the stars. Only him, the river, and the choice left unspoken. He stepped forward into the collapsing glow, his reflection waiting. Blue-eyed again, calm now, no longer a threat. "If you stay," it said, "you'll vanish with me. The world will forget this place. and you'll fade with it. Kiro shook his head. Then, at least, it will be quiet. The reflection smiled faintly. You sound like her. Their paws touched across the current, and the river flashed blinding gold. The reflection dissolved, and for the first time Kiro felt no fear, only peace. Close the circuit, the river whispered. Softer now. Let us sleep. He closed his eyes, let the light pass through him, and surrendered to the hum. Then, silence. The storm fell still. The light dimmed, and the world breathed again. The forest glistened in new rain. The river no longer glowed. It simply flowed, gentle and dark, as though it had never remembered anything at all. On the shore, Kiro lay still, tiny and golden against the wet earth. His eyes fluttered open, reflecting only morning light. No shimmer, no blue, just warmth. Somewhere beneath the surface, the machine slept, its hum now soft as a purr. Mira's voice drifted faintly in the wind. Not a call, not a warning, just a whisper. Rest now, my son. And for the first time since the beginning, the river was quiet. Seasons changed. Grass grew thick over the riverbank, and the forest healed. No one spoke of the storm anymore. Perhaps no one remembered. But Kiro did. He had grown taller now, his golden fur brushed by the wind as he walked the paths his mother once took. The river no longer glowed. It murmured softly, like a voice that had learned peace. Sometimes he sat beside it at dusk, watching his reflection ripple and fade. He could not recall her face, but every time the water touched his paw, warmth filled his chest, the warmth of something once loved, now beyond words. And in that warmth, he found comfort, not pain. That night, the moon rose full again, painting the river in silver light. Kiro watched it quietly, feeling an ache that wasn't sadness, but something gentler, remembrance. He heard a soft rustle and turned. From the trees emerged a small white kitten, trembling, curious, eyes full of wonder. Don't go near the river, Kiro said softly. Almost without knowing why, the kitten blinked, tilting its head, then smiled. The same innocent, fearless smile he once wore. Kiro watched as the kitten sat beside him, their reflections meeting on the water's surface. The current stirred faintly, not in warning this time, but as if greeting an old friend. The kitten spoke softly. Why does the river shine sometimes? Kiro smiled faintly, eyes reflecting the moon. Because it remembers, he replied. It used to hold everything, every voice, every dream, but it learned that some memories are meant to fade. The kitten's ears twitched. Do you remember? She asked. Kiro paused. Not everything, he said after a moment, just enough to be kind. The wind moved through the grass, carrying whispers that sounded almost like laughter. A mother's laughter, faint but warm. The river rippled once, then fell still, keeping the secret between them. When dawn broke, mist rose again, curling above the water like memory given shape. Kiro watched it, and thought of how far the world had come, how every sorrow eventually softened if one let it. In the reflection, he thought he saw her, Mira, silver, and still, watching him from beneath the current. But when he blinked, she was gone. The water shimmered gold in the sunrise, then faded to clear again. Kiro whispered, Thank you. Though he no longer knew whether he meant his mother, the river, or something greater. The current responded with a gentle wave against his paw, an answer without words, carried by light. As the years passed, the river became legend, a place the cats spoke of in whispers. Some said it once glowed with souls. Others said it was only light. Kiro grew old by its banks, his fur silvered like the moonlight he once feared. On his final evening, he lay beside the river, the same calm hum rising beneath the surface. He closed his eyes, feeling the heartbeat of the water. Steady, alive, at peace. And as his breath slowed, he heard her voice once more. Soft as the tide, the river remembers. His reflection smiled faintly, and this time he smiled back. When dawn came, only the ripples remained. Golden, quiet, eternal.